Says you're using the computer audio. Is that what I'm supposed to be using?
Yeah, audio and video.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hi, guys. Come on in.
No, it's not the. It'll be okay.
Scott, do they just come in or?
Some of them,
We just to let them in.
we don't, I think you have to admit them.
You can have it open, you can have an open Zoom
I don't
meeting,
know how you said
and
it.
then,
You might
yeah,
have to admit them.
Hey, what's up, pal?
oh, you didn't realize.
What was that? So Kevin M. Admit. Hello, Kevin. How you doing? Can you hear me? Let's see here. Kevin, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you,
How you
Dan.
doing, pal?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Good. So you're the first one on. We got about 10 minutes.
So there was two passcodes in that.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I am totally clueless about this stuff. So
I found it, so hopefully
Yeah.
everybody else can too.
yeah,
What one did he use?
I don't know. But if they were going to get a drink or some dope, they'd find their way in, wouldn't they?
Right.
I find the passcode to the liquor store.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're doing it on Zoom because we record it and then we transfer it to a YouTube channel. This is the YouTube channel right here. So if for some reason you can't make it one week, I'll explain all this to you when we start. But that's, you want to write down the YouTube channel.
No excuses.
How's
Hello.
Oklahoma treating you?
Good,
Good.
good. Kevin, where are you at? You're down in Kentucky, right?
Yeah, Lexington, Kentucky.
All right, let's see. Somebody, oh, Greg, he's in Florida. Here's Greg.
Shannon.
Okay, so now where's Greg? Why isn't he popping up here?
I know it's on. I don't think I-
Participants.
Hey, Diane. How are you, girl?
Where is,
I know, it's so hard.
okay. Greg, you there, Greg?
It says he's still connecting to the audio, so give me just a second.
Deb, Deb,
Hey, girl.
I need you. I need you.
I need you to, can you do this?
I don't know.
Can you control the, while I do
Do
the,
I just let people in?
yeah, just when they click in, just let them in and then,
I've done this one time in my life, so.
and then we gotta try to get this. So Greg is in. I got Kevin here and Greg is in, but, I don't know what's going on here. So. And then we want to get the board and then you can just move it so you can catch me. I'll be over here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this and do the class. Hey, how you doing?
I don't really want my face.
Hey, girl, what do you know?
How are you?
I'm okay. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
25 years, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. Mine's still
Try to make
good
this
today.
not fog my glasses up.
How you doing?
I know, it doesn't look too
Good, man.
Oh, yeah.
good. Going to any Alamo here?
All right.
No, I don't know, but I know them. I know.
That's
people
Debbie.
do.
She's mine. Debbie's my,
Hey,
my Zoom.
Edmund
I
too,
think,
but-
yeah.
Debbie's my Zoom.
I'm the IT department right here.
Lynn,
Like I asked,
No trouble.
come on in, guys.
Oh.
Do you want everybody muted?
Guys, too.
Huh?
Everybody is way past 45.
Oh, yeah. How do you put them all on the screen at the same time?
Yeah, just-
Hey, hey, how you doing? All right?
I know what that talks about. No, that's.
Oh, is that my, who's that? My ladies in Florida?
No,
M-A-H.
Hey, Danny, you're muted.
Rick, how you doing? Kathy, hi. Greg, Nick.
How you doing, Danny?
All right, guys.
Good to see you, buddy. What's up, Kev?
We got 5 minutes. I'm glad you're here, pal. Work that out, huh? You'll enjoy it. One seat there. I have the,
Are you a skateboarding person?
hey, some of you young, strong guys want to grab some chairs?
Who wants to stand?
No, I said young, strong guys, let's sit down. I might have to ask you, it's a big room.
Yeah.
Shannon. I'm gonna give you a job. You gotta talk to Willie and see if we can use the big room for now on.
Were you asking about Nancy? Show? Yeah, she just came in. Yeah, oh, I just let her in.
We have one board.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi, baby, where are you? I don't see you. Oh, there's
Right
Angela
here.
too. Woo, woo.
We got-
Oh, well, she's letting folks in, so it's blocking. Oh, there's Neener. Hey, baby girl, I love you.
Somebody sit here?
Hi, Shannon.
Hey, Angela, I'm glad you're here. I see you're muted, but I'm glad you're here.
I love you. I'm here.
Hi, baby. Can't see the.
Hi, Shannon.
All right, guys. All right, everybody, I'm glad you're here. Welcome. For those that don't know me, I'm Danny, alcoholic. Hi. So a lot of faces I don't know here. Come on in. Somebody grab this lady a chair, please. From the, oh, here's a chair here. There's a chair there. I'm gonna see if it's possible next week if we could use the big room. I just, they gave us this room to use, so we gotta work with it tonight. So anyway, let me tell you what we're doing here. This is a private big book study. This is not an AA meeting or any other type of 12-step meeting, okay? And the reason it's a private study and not a meeting is because we might read something that's not AA approved, and you might have homework to do. Okay, so those things that the traditions don't allow. So for that reason, we don't make this a meeting, okay? We don't pass the basket, but we do have expenses. So if you want to, at the end of the meeting, if you want to throw something in there, that'd be appreciated. We have to give them something for the room and we got other expenses, but if not, no problem. So this is a study that I've been doing. I kind of lost track. I think this is the 27th or 28th year in a row. And it used to be, and by the way, I'll explain all this. We're zooming it right now because there's people probably in about 14 different states following us right now, and about 10 different countries. But the 10 countries are probably not on. There might be somebody from Europe on here now, but they'll all be watching tomorrow. This Danny Falcone 2021 is the YouTube channel. So when this is over, this is being recorded on Zoom and it's going to be switched over to the YouTube channel. If for some reason or another you can't make it one week, you have to watch the video before the next week so you stay up with us. If you miss 1 week, you miss a lot of stuff, okay? It used to be when we did this, if you missed a week, you were out. You had to wait till we started over again. And it's about 30 weeks long, roughly, give or take. And we used to go through the whole course and take a week off and start all over again. But the last 3 years, last 3 or 4 years, we do one set for the year and we stop. And we start again usually in January. But I waited till February because of the pandemic, so, okay. House rules here, May Club wants us to wear a mask. So, please abide by that. It's not our place. Me speaking, I don't have to wear a mask, so. I'm glad to see Barry's here because let me tell you how this thing started. About 28 or 29 years ago, I had 4 sponsees that I was sponsoring. And I'm meeting with them once a week, an hour a week. I finally said, you know what? Why don't we all just meet together on Tuesday night and we'll just go through the steps together because they were all fairly new. And I'm not sure, were you in the first one or the second one? First one. So that was about 28 years ago, right? So we met and we went through all the steps and then we started all over again. We did it again. And these guys had some sponsees and by the third time we did it, there was no more room in my house. We used to meet in my house and do it. And so we got a clubhouse that we were using and we used that for many years. And then I moved back east 7 years ago. Come on in if you want. And in Florida, and I did the same thing in Florida. And so I got some of my Florida friends. There's a whole bunch of people on here. And I've been very blessed over the years. I get to go all over the country and all over the world and do conventions and do workshops and stuff. And so what we're doing here is the workshops that I do all over the place. It's a very intense study. And I don't care how long you've been sober. If you stick around here, I promise you will learn something on each step as we go along. Okay? Something you might not have known. You guys here for the study? Grab a couple of chairs out there in the big room and see if you can find a place here. Actually, hello. In the kitchen, there's a little square folded table. If you want to put it up right here, you can sit at the table so you can take notes. Yeah, so anyway, there'll be about 150 people from Europe on here tomorrow. They do, like, religiously, they go through this. It's too late for them to do it now. There might be 1 or 2 stragglers from there. But otherwise, there's a bunch of people all over the place. So that's what we do. And that's how this thing has evolved over the years. And that's why I'm glad Barry's here, because it's a long time ago we started this thing. He was part of it. It was 4 of us, right?
It was.
Yeah, 4 of us, yeah. So anyway, I've been, like I said, I've been blessed to go all over the world and do this with thousands and tens of thousands of people over the years. And what's cool is to see that what they're learning, they're passing on. And that's the idea of this here, is to get this, you come right up here with it, is to get this deal and pass it on. And so, like I said, we'll use stuff that maybe is not AA approved, but everything is, we're going to go right back to the big book and relate everything. sometimes it's easier to point out something in the book by using something that's not literature. Okay. Anyway, as we're going along, if you got a question, raise your hand, and I'll be glad to stop what we're doing and answer your question, because it's important that we answer your questions rather than keep going through this stuff. That's not as important as answering questions. Okay. So there's no stupid questions, so don't worry about that. Okay, so what we usually do is we usually talk before we get into the steps. Really, we usually talk about a lot of mistakes that and misunderstandings that people have about the program. You know, I love when I'm in a meeting and somebody says, you know, I love this program. It works great, and you know, my wife let me back in the house, and my boss gave me the job back, and the dogs let me pet them again. And next week I'll have 30 days. You know, what that means really is that, you know, somebody new in recovery really doesn't understand how this program works. And they don't even understand what the program is. And that's why I always start off with this. Everybody's familiar with this symbol here, all right? It's the AA symbol, recovery, unity, and service. And that is the totality of what the program really is. But what does that mean? So let's break that down. You might want to write this in your book or something. So when we're talking about recovery, we're talking about the steps. When we're talking about unity, we're talking about the traditions. When we're talking about service, we're talking about the concepts. And what this is, you want to grab a chair and bring it in here? Grab a chair from the big room. So what this is recovery is about the steps. Unity is the traditions, and the service is the concepts. And these are 36 legacies that were left to us. These were handed to us. This is not just 12 steps. There's 36 legacies. And it's the steps, the traditions, and the concepts. And if you want to break that down a little more, there's probably room right here somewhere. You want to bring that in. Try not to knock anybody out with that. So when we talk about recovery in the steps, we're talking about self. Self. And we're talking about unity and traditions. We're talking about God. And the service and the concepts, we're talking about others. God, self, and others. You might need to grab a chair out of the big room. By the way, everybody, we start at 6:45 and we end at 7:45. So try to be on time.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, she got a chair? Okay. So when we're talking about recovery, these are the things we're talking about. We're talking about the steps and we're talking about self. Okay? Because the reason self comes in this category is nobody's going to work the steps for us. We have to do this ourselves. We got to do the work ourselves. Okay? And then, so what this is, the recovery part, this is about action. And the unity part is about non-action. And if you study the traditions, you'll understand what that means. And the service part is about interaction. How do I interact with the world? And one more thing to finish this off, to make it complete, is on this part here, this is to learn. To learn. This is to love. And this is to serve. if you want to come in here, grab a chair from the big room and find a spot. Okay, I think we're definitely gonna have to use the big room next week. So when you break this down, what we're really talking about here, recovery is the steps, it's about self, it's about action, and it's to learn. Unity is the traditions, it's about God, it's about non-action, and it's to love. And service is the concept, it's about others, it's about interaction, and it's to serve. This is the totality of the program. So when somebody says, I love this program, I doubt very much that they understand this. But as far as we're concerned, for the next 30 weeks or so, we are going to concentrate on this. We're not going to be doing the traditions and we're not going to be doing the concepts. We're going to be focusing on the recovery part. Does everybody get that? Anybody got any questions with that? Grab some chairs from the big room, and there's a couple of spots here you could put them in. You can actually go online tonight or tomorrow, and you can. It'll be recorded, so you can pull up whatever you. Okay. So what I'd like to start off with doing is a simple prayer. It's the set-aside prayers. Anybody? How many people are not familiar with the set-aside prayer? Not familiar with it. Okay, good. Well, this is a good prayer to put me in my right place when I'm studying, okay? And I always suggest people when they start a big book study, they get a new book. It helps to get a new book because we tend to focus on what we've highlighted over the years and not focus on the other stuff. And we're going to be talking a lot about the other stuff, I think. So the set-aside prayer, if you just want to follow me, prepare, is, Dear God, please help me set aside everything I think I know about the program of recovery, the big book, you people, the fellowship, and especially about you, God. So I can get a new understanding about the program of recovery, the big book, the fellowship, and especially you, God. Thank you. Amen. Okay, so I like to start off with that prayer when we're starting things. So, because even myself, that I've been doing this, like I said, all these years. Lately, in the last couple of years, I've been getting what do they call that? CRS? Can't remember shit anymore. That's why I'm glad Barry's here. I used to be able to tell you what page anything was on that you said, but I can't remember that shit anymore. But Barry knows that. So, all right. So, does anybody got any questions on this part, on the program of recovery? It entails a lot more, right? I'm not going to go through the history or anything of AA, but it's important to know that that Bill and Bob, when they got this thing started, what they did was they set this program up in 3 parts. Now, when I'm talking about the program now, I'm talking about the recovery part of the program. Okay. So, and you might want to write this down, that because this is important, because the program of recovery is broken into 3 parts, and actually so is your big book. And the first part is, what is the problem? And the second part is, what is the solution? And the third part is, what is the program of action? And I have Deb help me out here because she already knows all this stuff. She doesn't have to write it down. I appreciate you helping. So it's important to know that there's 3 parts to this program so we can go through it properly, okay? And like I said, your book is also broken into those 3 parts. What is the problem? What is the solution? What is the program of action? And before, again, we get into the steps and stuff, I want to talk about some misunderstandings and misbeliefs and mistakes that people make in the program. I shared with you already that I'm blessed. I get to go all over the country and all over the world. Actually, I was scheduled to go to on the 20th to go to Mumbai, India, but because of the pandemic, I'm just doing a 2-hour Zoom instead. If anybody wants to join in on that, I'll get you the number there. That's one of these crazy big cities. But so I get to go all over, and a lot of times people will say to me after I'm done giving a talk or doing a workshop or something, they'll say, I really like what you shared, thank you. I want what you have. And my pat answer to that is, you don't know what I have, I might have a rash. How do you know what I have? Right? And they go, you know what I mean, Danny, I want it. And I go, well, what's it? This thing, what thing? I say, I want this thing, I want sobriety. I go, oh, you want sobriety? Yeah, sobriety. So I say to them, well, what is sobriety? Define that for me. And then they get this blank look in their face, and they're like, and they're not sure. They have no answer for that. And I always say to them, how are you so sure that you want something that you don't even know what it is? If you want sobriety, what is it? You should be able to define what you want. And so I always, when I work with people and I do these things, I always ask people to define what sobriety is to you. I heard a guy years and years ago give a great definition of sobriety. I use what he said because it was good then and it's still good now. And I'll share it with you. You can use this or you can make up your own. But he said sobriety is an alcohol and drug-free state of being characterized by freedom and happiness. I'll repeat that for you. And if you miss something, go to the YouTube and look it up. Sobriety is an alcohol and drug-free state of being characterized by freedom and happiness. I like that. I liked it when the guy said it, and I like it today. Just as much. Sobriety is an alcohol and drug-free state of being characterized by freedom and happiness. Now, I have a goal. And whatever your definition of sobriety is, you'll have a goal also. So again, if you don't like that, make up your own. Make something up that makes sense to you, that's what you want. That's your goal. At any point, at any time in my sobriety, when I'm thinking about doing something or I'm doing something, I can always stop and ask myself, is this taking me? Because see, let me back up a minute. People like us, we confuse words. We mix up 2 words in particular that we mix up all the time. The word action and activity. We confuse those. Action and activity. I'm going to give you a good definition of the word action as far as it's concerned for us here in recovery. Action is a continuous, purposeful movement always toward a goal. I'll say that again for you. Action is a continuous, purposeful movement always toward a goal. Activity is not. That simple. Okay? Activity is the hamster on the wheel, spinning around fast, thinking he's going somewhere. Activity is the guy that comes in and said, it's my 4th meeting today. I never picked up the big book and looked at it, I can tell you how many meetings you've been to. That is what we call activity. Usually from us, it's frantic activity. We're the hamster on the wheel going nowhere fast, thinking we're going somewhere. But now that I have a definition of the word, of word, my definition for sobriety, I have a goal. Sobriety is an alcohol and drug-free state of being characterized by freedom and happiness. If what I'm doing or thinking of doing, I can always stop and ask myself, is this a continuous purposeful movement toward my goal? Because that's what action is, a continuous purposeful movement toward your goal. So I can ask myself, is what I'm doing or thinking about doing, is this a continuous purposeful movement toward my goal? If it's not, guess what? I'm engaged in activity again, thinking I'm doing something. I'm once again the hamster on the wheel, going nowhere fast, swearing I'm getting something done. Does all that make sense to you? So it's important that we understand what sobriety is and understand when we're engaged in activity, usually frantic activity, rather than action. Okay? And we talked about the 36 legacies and the 3 parts of recovery. The next thing I want to mention to you is you have a jacket on your big book. Can you read that jacket for us? What does it say right there on that jacket?
Alcoholics Anonymous, this is the 4th edition of the Big Book Basic Text for Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay, so the cover of this book is making a statement to us that the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous is a textbook. Now, there's no disputing this. During the next 30 weeks, I'm probably going to say a lot of things that upset somebody. But you're not really arguing with me when you argue about it, because if I'm taking it to the book, it's the book that says it. I'm just repeating what the book says. The book is calling this book, AA is calling this book a textbook. The difference between a textbook and a novel, most people understand that. A novel you read, a textbook you study. You make notes. And you know, I know a lot of people got pads and pens, that's good, but it's good to write right in your big book. Right in the margins. Just you got a question, write it in the margins. So when you look in your book, in your notebook, you go, oh, where was that in the book? I had that question. When you write in the book, you know right exactly where it is. So we take notes. We use something very important. It's called the dictionary. Today they got whatever you call it online, but Google. There you go. But it's important. And then we reference one page to another page. Okay. And that's how you study something. So what we're going to do in here, we're going to reference one page to another. We're going to understand the meaning of some words, and we're going to study the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, because it is a textbook. It needs to be studied. Well, let's get this one out of the way because this one is controversial. The disease concept. There's a whole lot of people in AA and other fellowships that, and they're sober, and they've been sober for many years, but they believe in a threefold disease. Threefold disease: mind, body, and spirit. What we're dealing with in Alcoholics Anonymous is a twofold disease. We have a disease of mind and body. There is nowhere in our literature that backs up a threefold disease, that reinforces that statement. A step further, I'd like to talk about it, and I'll prove that to you in a minute. But just think about this for a minute. If my spirit is diseased, if the God in me was able to catch the disease of alcoholism, I ain't got the right God in my life. You cannot transmit a disease to my God. Now, a couple of things. Alcoholics Anonymous have many pamphlets. They have 100 pamphlets. I'm going to quote 3 of them to you. This one is called Frequently Asked Questions About AA. This is AA approved literature. Frequently Asked Questions About AA. And right at the beginning it says, the explanation of alcoholism, seems to make sense to most AA members is that alcoholism is an illness, a progressive illness, which can never be cured, but which, like some other diseases, can be arrested. Going one step further, many AAs feel that the illness represents the combination of a physical sensitivity to alcohol and a mental obsession with drinking. No mention of the spiritual disease. This is AA, an introduction to the AA recovery program, another AA approved material. And in here it says, while there is no formal AA definition of alcoholism, most of us agree that for us, it could be described as a physical compulsion coupled with a mental obsession. No mention of the spirit. And this one, is there an alcoholic in your life? Besides you. And it says, the alcoholic is a sick person suffering from a disease which there is no known cure. That is, no cure in the sense that he or she will ever be able to drink moderately like a non-alcoholic for any sustained period. Because it is an illness, a physical compulsion combined with the mental obsession to drink, again, no mention of a spiritual disease. Again, there's no point in our literature that they talk about a threefold disease. In fact, there's about 156 times, if I'm not mistaken, that they mention mind and body or mental and physical, those words. There is one place in the book that it says spiritual disease. That's on page 64. You turn to page 64 for a second. Last paragraph on page 64 says resentment is the #1 offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease. And they go, there you go, Danny, right there. Spiritual disease. Says it right there, doesn't it? Just read it. It's right there. It's in your book too. Spiritual disease. But they aren't talking about alcoholism. They're talking about resentment. It says, resentment is the #1 offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything. From it, from what? From resentment, stem all forms of spiritual disease. Then it goes on to say, we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. Now, I don't want you to confuse what I'm saying to you. There is no doubt in my mind that every one of us in this room and everybody else on this earth is spiritually sick to greater and lesser degrees. Usually people like us, a little more greater than lesser. We are spiritually sick. No doubt about that. But that does not define an alcoholic. Because you're spiritually sick does not constitute you being alcoholic. But every alcoholic is spiritually sick. Is that confusing or does that make sense to you? Every alcoholic is spiritually sick, but not every spiritually sick person is alcoholic. Mother Teresa, to some degree, was spiritually sick. She was an alcoholic. And I know a lot of people in my life that are spiritually sick. But that doesn't make you an alcoholic. Okay? So what he's saying here, here's the interesting way to look at it. Everybody in this room at one time or another has probably had the flu, right? We're not talking corona here, COVID, the flu, regular flu. So you're home with the flu and you're sick, and your friend calls you up and he says, how you feeling? Now, I don't know about you guys, but anytime anybody's ever called me up and asked me how I'm doing when I'm home with the flu, I always say, oh God, I got the chills, I got a fever, I got to keep running to the bathroom, I'm shaking, I can't eat nothing, I feel like crap, right? I've never said to anybody when they ask me how you doing, oh, I have influenza. So what my point is, when you ask somebody this, they describe the results of what they're going through rather than what they have. And Bill says here that we've been physically and mentally ill, we've been spiritually sick. Okay. The rest of this book, you're never going to find them talking about spiritual disease. And if you're new, I'll share with you that when they want us to understand something, they say it over and over again in different ways. The book repeats itself. We in meetings repeat ourselves. How many times you heard somebody say, oh, I've heard that a million times, but it's the first time I really heard it, right? Whatever somebody's talking about. We need to hear shit over and over again because that's just the way our minds are. So it's important to understand that what we're talking about here is we're talking about a twofold disease. I do not have a disease of my spirit. My spirit is not diseased. My spirit is the peace of God that's in me, and you can't disease that. In fact, if you go to the forward to the first edition, forward says, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. We have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. But you know the important thing there? A lot of people misunderstand that one little sentence, and they think that, yeah, they agree with yeah, I'm hopeless. Not hopeless, not at all. It says a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Sure, when I got here, I sure seemed hopeless. But it only seemed that way. It was a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. It wasn't real. It's not real. No one in this room is hopeless beyond repair. Sure. Sometimes it sure seems that way. And the holes we dig for ourselves sure make it feel that way. But it's not real. We are not hopeless. We have the power to change our life if we tap into that power. We tap into that power. None of this stuff matters. Whoever that is coming in now, tell them they're way too late. Okay. Any questions on that? Does that need to be talked about any further? Anybody got a question? If you got a question, we can talk about it some more.
I
Yes.
You know, I've been around the range for a while, and I hear some people say I've recovered, and I'll hear others say I'm recovering. I'll never recover. What's the take on it? Because in the book it says we have recovered.
We have recovered. Yes. Book says we have recovered. So when I introduce myself in a meeting, I just say I'm Daniel, I'm alcohol. I don't get into all that. I'm not an ANDA because I qualify for every 12-step program there is. So it takes me 20 minutes to introduce myself. I'm an alcoholic and an addict and a gambler, and I pick my nose if there's no Speakers Anonymous, you know. I don't get into all that stuff. You know, if I'm in an AA meeting, I'm an alcoholic. If I'm in a CA meeting, I'm a cocaine addict, and that's it for me. And by the way, I don't know who's here tonight, but there's usually, especially online, there's usually people from different fellowships in this class. I have people that Overeaters Anonymous. I have some people from Gamblers Anonymous. And, I know CA and AA because CA uses the big book. That's their program of recovery, so it's very similar to AA. But anyway, there's other different kinds of fellowships, but none of that stuff matters, you know. The book says we have recovered. You know, I also had a lot of money at one time. Keyword had. So you know, what yesterday was good for yesterday. What happened yesterday doesn't necessarily mean it's true today. You know. So I need to do some things to keep that true. So yeah, it actually uses both terms. It's recovering, recovery, recovered. So choose one, whatever works for you. It's not that relevant. Did you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, anybody else have a question? Okay. So we're okay with the twofold disease? And I think the most important part about that again is that if I really believe that I have a disease of mind, body, and spirit, then I'm sunk. That if you can disease my God, then there's no hope for me. You know. Okay. Slogans. Let's talk about slogans for a minute. I love the slogans. Slogans are good, they're fun. We used to, in New York, we used to call them bubble gum recovery. You know, it used to be, when I was a kid, you used to get the bazooka gum and it had a little joke at the something in it there, a little slogan in there. So, listen, the slogans are not recovery. They're not any part of this here. They may be something good to hold on to or to keep in your mind. But, you know, there's lots of them. You know, people will say, one of the things people say is, I'm not so sure it's a slogan, but you hear it all the time that, you know, there's no right or wrong way to do this program. And you know, if you're sober, you're right. You're doing it right. No, because there's plenty of people in the rooms of AA running around that are stark raving sober. Stark raving sober. Yeah, I'm going to read to you some things. Remember I said a textbook is to be referenced back and forth. So I'm going to read 3 pages for you. Going back to the forward again. First forward. I already read the first sentence. We of Alcoholics Anonymous, more than 100 men and women are recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show now, and what I'm reading to you now is in italic, the squiggly writing. When you see the squiggly writing, right, it's a little bit more important. That's why it's squiggly. I want you to pay attention. I want your eyes to catch the difference so you can see that this has a little more weight to it, okay? So it says, to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. Precisely how we have recovered. Hold your finger there and go to page 20 in your book. The first full paragraph, the last sentence in the first full paragraph says, if you are an alcoholic who wants to get over it, you may already be asking, what do I have to do? It is the purpose of this book to answer such questions specifically. Specifically. Hold your finger there and go to page 29 of your book.
Where was that second reading from?
What is that?
Page 20 and where on page 20?
Page 20, the first paragraph, the last sentence says, if you're an alcoholic who wants to get over it, you may already be asking, what do I have to do? And then the next sentence says, you see that? And then go to page 29, and it's the top of the page, the first paragraph, it says, further on, clear-cut directions are given showing how we have recovered. Further on, clear-cut. Oh, and by the way, you guys on Zoom, just jump in if you got a question. Don't raise your hand because I can't see you. So further on, clear-cut directions are given showing how we have recovered. Now let's put those 3 statements together because that's what we do when we study a book. I'm going to answer the questions about what do I have to do specifically. Going to show me precisely what I have to do, and clear-cut directions are given, showing me that. So precise, specific, clear-cut directions. I don't know how anybody could make the argument that there's no right or wrong way to do this. There are precise, specific, and clear-cut directions, and if you're not following them, you're doing it wrong. Doesn't matter that you're sober, because there's plenty of people. I did this. I've been doing this for years. Hey, is Jim on here from down there in Florida? He usually comes on every year. He's like 44 years sober. I had guys with many years of sobriety go through this thing. In fact, I sponsored a guy in Florida who was sober 45 years at the time. And I asked him, why do you want me to sponsor you? And he said, because I've never went through the big one. And his life was a mess. His family life, his business life, his life was a mess. But he hasn't had a drink in 45 years. And so, because that's the thing about this book, these 12 steps fix everything. Everything. You can't come up with a problem in your life that the 12 steps can't fix if you work them, if you apply them. So what was I talking about? Precisely, right. Precisely, specifically, clear-cut direction. All right. So if we do that, there's got to be a right or wrong way to do this. Okay. Does anybody got a question or concern or something about that they want to discuss? No? Okay. Principles. As far as Alcoholics Anonymous is concerned, I know you'll go to a lot of clubhouses and you'll see the 12 principles on the wall. And I'm not saying that they're bad, but they're not AA.
Hey, Danny. It's
Yes.
Charlotte.
Hey, Charlotte, how are you, honey?
Good. Jim texted me this morning. He's got his own big book study he does on Wednesday nights.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why he's not here.
Well,
Yep.
good. Tell him to keep doing it. I'm glad to hear that.
Okay, and Stephanie says hello.
Hi, Steph. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. You take this and you carry it on. We switched this from last year from Thursday to Wednesday. That's why Jim probably did Wednesday. This study. All right. Principles. If you stay sober and do this deal, you will get a lot of principles in your life, a lot of good, positive principles in your life. But the principles that you see in the honesty, hope, faith, integrity, all these things, they're good and you should acquire them in your life as you stay sober and grow spiritually. But they don't go with any step and they're not AA approved. And if matter of fact, if you called the world office in AA and asked them about the principles, they would tell you they don't endorse them. Because there's a good reason why they don't endorse them. If the third principle is faith, and you just did the third step, but you don't have faith, you don't think you did the step right. And in fact, all of us grow spiritually differently. You may grow in one area of your life, you may grow a lot better than me in one area spiritually, and I may grow better than you in one area of my life. It doesn't matter. We're not in a race, so we're all doing this to be better, right? And my point is that you can't count on honesty and hope and faith and all this stuff. I know in CA they have endorsed that. I also know why they endorsed that. They had to make money and they put it on a coin one time. So they stamped their approval on them. But in AA, the 12 principles don't exist. Okay. You will get a lot of principles in your life if you just keep doing this stuff, and they'll all be good. But not that if you do the first step, you're going to get honest. Do the second step, you're going to have the fifth step, you're going to have integrity. No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Danny doesn't say in how it works, where it says the principles we have set down are guides to progress, and they're talking about the steps
Yeah.
and
Well,
how it works, right?
yeah. Yeah. They're talking about the anytime they use the word principles in here when they're comparing them like that. If you go to your 12 and 12, the forward to the 12 and 12, and we don't use the 12 and 12 very often, but the forward to the 12 and 12, the third paragraph says, I'll read it for you. AA's 12 steps are a group of principles, spiritual in their nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. That's AA says that. So AA is calling the principles the steps. Okay, so when we talk about practicing the principles, we're talking about working the steps. And we do that in all areas of our life. Okay. Anybody got any questions on any of this so far? Okay, the first three steps. The first three steps solve the problem and fulfill the purpose of the big book. The first three steps solve the problem and fulfill the purpose of the big book. What do I mean? The first step, I discover what powerless is. In the second step, I discover what a solution is, or who my solution would be. In the third step, I discover that I have the faith and the trust I have to have in that higher power that I found in the second step. Huh?
Say that 1, 2, 3 real quick again, please. Thank you.
That the first step is I discover what powerless is. Is that what you're talking about? In the second step, I discover what my higher power is, the solution. And in the third step, I learn to have faith and trust in that higher power. And so that's why the first three steps fulfill the purpose of the book. Okay. And 4 to 9 is about change and recovery. 10 is just a check on the first 9, basically. 11 is to improve my relationship with God, and 12 is to carry this message to other people. Okay. So let me see if I can. I'm surprised this thing didn't fall down because I just put a tack in the wall and hung that up. So there's been scientific studies done over the years, right? And what they've come up with is that 1 out of 10 people that drink become alcoholic. 1 out of 10. That means that 9 people can drink with ease. 9 people out of 10 could drink with ease. 1 out of 10 is in this, D-I-S-E, ease. This ease. You know what the word this means, D-I-S? Anybody know what the word this means? It means away from. Away from. So you take 10 people that drink, 1 of them will become alcoholic, 9 of them will drink with ease, and 1 of them will drink with dis-ease. And you know what the difference is between these 9 and that 1? Alcoholism. Alcoholism is the difference. 1 out of 10 will become alcoholic. Interesting studies they've done. Yes.
Can you repeat those, the points for 10, 11, and 12 steps? When you kind of
10 is just redoing the first 9. 11 is just improving my relationship with God. And 12 is carrying the message into all our affairs. And carrying and practicing this stuff in all our affairs and carrying the message to others. We're gonna break all that down more.
Shannon told me that you have worksheets for all of this. Is that true?
I have worksheets for a lot of stuff, but when I hand out worksheets here, you can send me a message and I'll email them to you. I don't have a
totally just
worksheet
giving
for any
you
of this
shit.
stuff that I'm talking about now.
I'm giving you shit.
Definitely a friend of mine.
Okay? See, drinking doesn't cause alcoholism. Drinking doesn't cause alcoholism. It exposes it. And here's the problem. This is a problem. We're going to try to do this in 5 minutes and we'll finish up. I don't know if I said it, but I always start on time, finish on time. Alcoholism has been a problem for as long as man has been alive. I don't know this as a fact, but I think once upon a time, some caveman grabbed some branches into his cave, threw them in the corner, and they just sat there and they fermented and he ate them and he got drunk. And ever since then, there's been problems with alcohol. With people. It goes back, that's what I was looking for here. It goes back. I'm going to read you something from the Bible. We're not getting religious. My point is how far back problems with alcohol is. This is right out of the Bible. It's Proverbs 23:29. It says, who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? Who hath contentions? Who hath babbling? Who hath wounds without cause? Who hath redness of eyes? They that tarry long at the wine, they that go seek mixed wine. Look not thou upon the wine when it is red, when it giveth his color in the cup, when it moveth itself aright. At the last it biteth like a serpent, and stingeth like an adder. Thine eyes shall behold strange women, and thine heart shall utter perverse things. Thou shalt be as he that lieth down in the midst of the sea, or as he that lieth upon the top of a mast. They have stricken me, shalt thou say, and I was not sick. They have beaten me, and I felt it not. When I shall awake, I will seek it yet again. That's the Bible. That's over 2,000 years, right? There's been problems with alcohol. But here's the thing. All of these years, from way back from the caveman times to the Bible times to right up to modern history, we have not defined who we are. Others, people, have defined who we are, we alcoholics. Other people have defined us. They've told us what's the matter with us, what's wrong with us, what we have to do about it, what do we got to do. They have defined an alcoholic. And there were times where they would put you in a straitjacket in a padded room. And all kinds of different things through all the years, from the Bible times to all these years, that nobody, let me ask you a question. You know why they haven't made progress in cancer? Probably everybody in the room knows somebody that died of cancer. My mom died of cancer. You know why they haven't made progress in cancer in all these years? They haven't. My friend's wife is going through the same cancer that my mother died from 35 years ago. And she's going through the same treatment that my mom went through. She got multiple myeloma. 35 years later, they don't have anything better than this? Same thing my mom did. Because all of these years, it's only in the last 5 or 6 or 10 years at the most, not even 10 years, that they've started making a little progress with stem cell therapy. But my point is this. The reason they've never been able to do anything about cancer is they've never understood what the problem was. They've always treated the symptoms of the problem. And throughout history, nobody has understood what the problem is with the alcoholic. They want to treat the symptoms of the problem. And that's what they've done. We've let those people define us. And it wasn't until Bill and Bob got together, two drunks, and understood what their problem was and passed it on to us that we have been making great inroads in recovery from alcoholism. Because we understand what the problem is. I told you the 3 parts of the program. What is the problem? What is the solution? What is the program of action? I don't want to go into history, but you know Dr. Bob was a member of the Oxford group, and he couldn't stay sober. The Oxford group knew what the solution was, and they had a program of action, but he couldn't stay sober until he met Bill. Because when he met Bill, Bill told him what the problem was. And Ebby, who was a member of Oxford Group, told Bill what the solution was and the program of action was. Bill Wilson became the first man in the universe armed with all 3 things necessary to recover. He knew what the problem was, what the solution was, and what the program of action was. And when he passed that on to Dr. Bob, they had stopped letting other people define who we are that don't know who we are. Didn't understand the problem. We know what the problem is. Your job is to find out what your problem is with alcoholism. What does that mean? And then when you start sponsoring people to help them understand that too. And that's why we're going to spend probably 10 weeks or so on step 1. And I hope you'll learn something different each week. But I guarantee you'll learn something about the first step that you never got before. We got a couple minutes left. I don't want to go any further. Anybody got any questions?
Do you know what page that is in the Bible?
Yeah, I told you. It was Proverbs 23:29. The basket's right here. You want to throw something in it?
You want me to pass?
Yeah, you can. You don't feel obligated to put anything in. All right, anybody else got a question?
Hey, Danny,
Yes.
how do I donate to your basket?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right, anybody, any questions at all? I'll see if we can get the big room next week. No more questions. That's it then for tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Thanks,
Thank
Danny.
you.
Thanks, Danny.
Bye, Shannon.
Thank you,
Oh,
Danny.
wait now. What I gotta do is this now. Hey, if you guys could do me a favor, we need these tables folded up and put against the wall here. I have to.
Thank you, Danny.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I gotta sign off for this because I gotta, it's gonna be, did you see what the YouTube channel is? The YouTube channel is Danny Falcone 2021.
Okay.
And that's where the recording will be every week.
We've been telling everybody at the Rockwell about it. You're
Okay.
famous.
It's good to see you guys. Hey, Barb.
Thanks, Danny.
Hey,
Drew?
Barbara.
All right, guys. Good to see
Good
you.
night, Danny.
All right.
Hey, Danny.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just put them against the wall.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's your name?
LJ.
LJ.
Hey, listen.
All right.
I went to treatment in 2010. They gave me your CD to listen to.
Oh, God.
The first speaker I ever heard.
Oh, God.
For real.
What's the
It was on a
Zoom
CD.
code and password to get into it? The sheet?
You have the Zoom? Ken has it.
What's the,
He's got it.
yeah, the code, the password? In case I can't make it up here actually one night, I can go through.
What do we do with the chairs? We'll pick up the tables.
Oh, we'll just leave the chairs facing this way, kind of. He needs the Zoom number.
Zoom code password.
I'm Terry.
Hi, Terry.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. And I got sober in South Florida 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
Stewart. Where did
Stewart, I was in the Tampa area.
Tampa area. Okay. Thanks again.
Thank
I
you.
love it.
Danny, it was great.
Thank you.
I can't wait, I've learned so much.
We definitely need the big room next week. Yeah, by the end, we could do it in here.
Chairs going this way and all the time, because they have
Sure.
seats in here.
I know you probably realize this, but I think it's.
See you, bro.
I think it's, I was